Welcome to Behind Life Struggles, episode 3. I'm your host, Nelsie. I'd like to welcome my co-host. Let's start with Forbes. Welcome.
Well gone, LZ. Standing, brother.
Next, resident co-host, Jams, in the building.
What's good? Good evening, people. Good evening.
And finally, my brother, Links. Long time.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm late like black people. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm here. 3 days late, but I'm 3 weeks late, but I'm here.
You're free now, yeah? You're free.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mum said I couldn't use my tablet.
Also, I would like to welcome my guests, starting with Lids. Welcome.
Hey.
No. Come on, we have to do better than that.
Hey.
Clap the hands. You know, black go. Next, someone welcome Taylor.
Hi.
And last but not least, Lily.
Hey. Always on time, alright?
Never on time. You know, I like to have Lee around because he makes my timing look good. And I know my timing is terrible.
Well, welcome everybody. How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Good? Yeah? Tired?
Yeah, broke, man. Broke. I ain't worried about tiredness, man. I ain't worried about tiredness. I could always sleep.
Fair enough. All right, cool. So what we're going to do for us is we're going to jump onto current affairs. So as we all know, current affairs is a quick 5-minute discussion about a topic which we've read about, discussed about during the week. And so I'm going to pass the floor to Gems.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, man. Straightforward one from me today in terms of current affairs. Obviously, there's a whole host of things that have taken place over the last few days, few weeks. Nonetheless, with our beloved Tory government, isn't it, Matt Hancock. But my topic isn't about him. It's actually about the way that we dress. So I don't know if you guys saw, but I think it was yesterday. The boss of Foot Locker has said that casual wear is here to stay. So Foot Locker, obviously one of the world's largest, casual sportswear retailers. Obviously, it's in their prerogative to say, if casual wear is here to stay. But of course, since the start of the pandemic, and we've been under lockdown across the globe, and people have been working at home. Obviously, we've chucked our office attire away, for baggy t-shirts and tracksuit bottom shorts, whatever. So they're seeing record profits and whatnot. And what the article kind of delves into is that lots of offices are going to be making adjustments, if not to their formal uniform policy. Then there are lessons that they've learned kind of during lockdown and kind of COVID that they're hoping to continue to adopt into regular workplace practices. So personally, I'm all for it. As you guys know, I'm a school teacher. It's not like back in our day when teachers could dress relatively casually. I've got to wear a suit to work every single day and a tie. And when the weather's like this, as is, well, apart from the last couple of days when it's been raining, but when it's really hot and whatnot, you can imagine how uncomfortable and how stuffy that is in a classroom setting. So I'm all for it. Don't know what you guys think or how you feel about it. Certainly, again, coming kind of from how I grew up and being part of the culture that we are, casual wear, sportswear is always the rage, So I'll be more than happy to be able to go to work dressed as I would ordinarily dress, So yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about that, what your thoughts are.
You know what, yeah? The funny thing is, when you say that, I recall when I used to work in London, in the city, on every Fridays, we had dress down day.
Yeah, same.
Between Monday and Thursday, I'll go in my suit and tie,
Mm-hmm.
and I will go in, no looks whatsoever. No one would even ask me for my pass, wouldn't even check me. When I would go in my normal clothes,
On a Friday, they let you in.
on a Friday, they'd be staring at me. They were looking at, saying, "What is he doing around here?" And so though
You'll be like the janitor's cupboards that way.
So though I do agree with you, Jams, unfortunately, as a black man, which they class as, that stereotypical, big black man, if you're wearing a hoodie, they automatically think that you're up to no good. I'm just not sure how I feel about that, working in the city, walking around with a hoodie on. What's your thoughts, Links?
I see younger me would be like, yeah, but older me knows that if you're dressed a certain way, I'm going to talk to you differently. I'm conditioned that way. If I was at Lydia's church and a pastor comes up there and he's in a hoodie or a footlooker, I'm like, who is this guy? Like,
Yeah,
is this
for real.
police? Like, yeah. So a uniform or an attire sets the standard automatically for me. And I know it's wrong, but I perceive you to of a certain maybe academic level, or you're going to speak to me in a certain way. I talk to people differently when I'm wearing a suit to how I do as I'm dressed now. So again, if you, my school teacher, Jam, walked in and you were dressed how I'm dressed now, I'm just going to talk to you like we're friends, which isn't a bad thing, but there's going to time you're going to need to discipline me. And as my friend, I'm not going to accept that from you. Whereas if you're in a suit and tie, I'm automatically going to start to respect what you're saying and listen to you more. So that's
No, I feel you, but just to kind of play.
Generation, I know. So.
I feel you entirely, but to play devil's advocate on that, then does that mean that we're kind of creating a culture whereby our young people only respect those that are dressed in suits and ties or in formal attire?
Our young people don't respect no one. Like, regardless of,
Yeah, for real, suit or not.
Yeah, they don't care about your clothing. They don't even notice. Like, they'll probably respect you more if a policeman was wearing the latest Air Jordans. Like, they do not care. Like, the attires. I worked in a educational establishment, as you know, Jam, for like people who had fallen out of the educational system due to like youth offending and things, and they didn't know how to write a CV. They sure didn't know how to dress or conduct themselves in an interview setting. They spoke to their the potential employer, the same way they would speak to their friends. So, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Lily, I know you had your hand up on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it depends on.
Sorry, you're a bit quiet.
Yeah, it depends on like the culture, I would say, and like the personalities of the individuals that you're around. Because I've been in environments where I've had to wear, like a dress, like a suit dress, and heels. Had to have my hair tied back, makeup on every day, every morning, etc. Like even down to the tights that you wear, and the type of people that were coming into the building, like the clients, they were also just very, down to earth. Like they weren't, even though they were in suits and like ties, it was just like for them it was more so, oh, I'm actually from East London. That would be a topic. Or I'm from North. I'm from Birmingham. I'm not from around here. I'd rather be somewhere else. But you've got to do these business meetings and etc. And it's just literally casual conversation, even though they're dressed formally. And but it doesn't change. You wearing like a suit doesn't change. It shouldn't change how you speak to other people or how you approach them, because everybody's just showing up, aren't they? They're just showing up for what they do. That is not who they are.
Liz, do you agree?
This one I think is very subjective.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally, from working from home since 2020 March, I've been working from home throughout, and now my office is closed. So that's it for the foreseeable future. On the days when I get up and I like put on something that I would have worn to the office and literally just put my feet into actual shoes, not my slides, not my trainers, I literally come to my computer with a different energy. And I think it's just like the cues that you give your body about work mode and relax mode.
Yeah.
It really actually helped me to transition. And when the end of the day, my work day came and I got back into my leisure wear, I'm like, So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
and some people, it really helps them to have that kind of it's like an on switch, basically. This is, uniform switch into this mode. But obviously it shouldn't mean that you treat anyone with any less respect if they're dressed more in.
Okay, cool. So, Forbes, do you want to chime in, or you good?
Well, like I agree with a little bit of everyone, and ultimately the point that Lydia makes is very subjective, right? I haven't really had, I haven't really personally worked in an environment like James where you had kind of had to wear like a suit formally. So even though I work for a big software company, there is, unless I'm going to sit in front of a customer, I don't really dress formal. I'll go in office just as way I'm just now. I'll go in the office, and to be honest, a lot of people do as well, right? But when you come to customer facing, you wear a suit. It's all very much about time and place. I think I don't necessarily agree with Link's point where you said that the kids will respect you more or have less respect for you ultimately, or less respect for you if you're kind of wearing formal clothing versus informal clothing. Because for me, it's I as a child, I never kind of looked at, for instance, Mr. Brown, for example, and kind of looked at what he was saying based on what he was wearing. To be fair, if he was wearing a hoodie, it wouldn't have necessarily made much difference. But maybe that rule kind of applied different for other people, right?
Okay, Shayla, you got a view?
I just want to address how I feel.
Okay,
How real.
then.
I just don't like. I feel like it depends on where you work and what you're doing. But I feel like people should have the choice to wear, obviously, as long as it looks appropriate, but dress how you want to dress. Because some people, like you said, like Lid said about it's a concept. It make the mind frame it puts you in when you put on certain clothes. I get that. But for me, so that's some people feel that way. For me, I could go to work. I would love to go to work in my Adidas long socks, my tucked in leggings, and my hoodie, and just chill at my desk. But obviously, it just depends on where you work if you can do that. But I think they should allow you to dress how you. It's like 2021 now. Come on, like you need to go with the times. The young generation that are coming up, they don't even have obviously their respect levels and the way that they carry themselves is totally different. I think we should just do as we please.
So Link, you've got your hands up.
Yeah, so the main point I'm making is I forget who did it. I studied it in psychology, but they did a social experiment. So they took the same set of people, they put them in a prison, and they dressed certain people a certain way, gave them glasses so you couldn't see their eyes and everything, and told them, you are the prison guards, right? And then they gave the others prison inmate attire. And what they realized, these were close friends as well. They started treating each other disgustingly because they conformed to social society about uniforms and it's just based on what they were wearing. So even if you're unaware of it, the way someone dresses does affect the way you speak to them or the way you approach them or respond to them, which is my point. So whilst you didn't look at what Mr. Brown was saying, if Mr. Brown was dressed like us and spoke like us, your reaction to some of the things he said would have been completely different. But you probably held off more because of his age and because of how he was dressed. Is what I'm saying. I don't even think it's a conscious thing. Like you may talk to, I don't know. That's my main point anyway. I'm just gonna leave it.
No. I agree with you. I do agree with you.
Testing when someone's testing your patience, yeah, it doesn't matter what they're wearing.
Yeah,
and I've been there.
You will tolerate more from them. You will tolerate more from them without you even realize, depending on how they're dressed or how they're approaching you. For example, if you didn't know me and I was speaking to you in a certain way with my hoodie on, right? You're gonna talk to me totally different.
No, but I wouldn't though. No. I think it depends. Maybe it depends on the generation.
Because Shayla not be a roadman.
Yeah, because
you old people.
You know, be a roadman. That's why.
Yeah.
I do agree with what James is saying in regards to trying to change that culture. Do you think there's a double standard in regards to how women can dress in the office compared to how men can dress?
It's always been that. That's always been the case.
In the summer, there was this big debate in my offices because women could come in practically how they wanted to dress, because it was, and men always had to wear the shirt, ties, and everything. And I was like, I'm not comfortable telling a woman how she has to dress in it. Like, so I always used to leave that topic alone.
Even if it was inappropriate.
What's inappropriate though? Are you?
For the office.
Because if it's crazy, if you're
Wouldn't there
talking
be
what Abika's
guidelines?
talking about, what woman's coming to work like that?
Wouldn't there be
Yeah, right.
guidelines on how you
right.
can be dressing?
Yeah.
Isn't there guidelines? Like you obviously don't, there's
Yeah.
guidelines, right?
So
You know, stick with those
Yeah, but
guidelines.
it's not written like that though.
Who's
But
coming to
listen,
work
It's not
with
like that, yeah.
but
their
listen,
belly and everything exposed?
no, but
I've seen people turn up to work on like
But it depends on where you
casual
work.
day. Like no, I've worked at
You work at
most.
ASOS.
No, never.
You dress how you want. And ASOS, you can wear a crop top. You can
I
wear.
know, but I've worked in corporate environments where people have turned up to work in certain things. You're like raw.
Yeah,
That's
but
a mad thing.
if you're talking about her boobs being a low cut top, that's not a problem because at the end of the
I
day,
ain't selected
it's her
anybody
body,
part or nothing.
she wants.
I'm just saying,
But
you're looking at thinking, Ross, she must be going raving or she must be touching out. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay.
no.
Anyway.
I've been at workplaces where they've literally told me that one person said something to me. They were like, "Oh, are those work trousers?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh wow, they look nice." But then I think 2 days later, I got a meeting saying, I've been coming to the office and speaking about dress code because they were, even though they were in the office section, they for my like physique, it looked too, much.
Politics.
For them.
Trying to criticize your wife,
Yeah.
girl.
So
And that's the problem.
This girl is so
someone else
gassed.
is like, maybe on the slender side with not that much, curves or whatever, they could be wearing the same thing as me, but will look different on me than that.
Isn't that
person.
discrimination?
And yeah, that is that case. But I think at work, I guess like when it's
What kind of discrimination is it?
attention to a certain area of your
Her
body.
body type.
Like me personally, now, I'm more aware of
Her body,
I'm more
discrimination.
aware of what I wear.
Body discrimination.
Because
You just make it.
It's
Just making words up
discrimination
now.
because for one, obviously her body is her body. Now that's a discrimination. You can't say that. You can't tell the person, oh, your body, your bum is a bit.
Yeah, but you can't come to work in review.
Your bum is blah blah blah. But I know what they're saying. Like,
listen, men should not have opinions on women's bodies. Just stay out of it.
And they give me a whole
Yeah,
booklet of how
but when a man's paying you the money, when a man's paying you, then I should have the.
Listen, men should stay at women's bodies and
Links
clothes.
was the white one. Did you see Link said he's gonna be on women's bodies?
No, you know how it is.
No
like,
opinion.
I stay away from no topic. I'm
you know
fully
how it is,
involved.
like, in church, right? If you see someone, I've been in church before, and I've seen someone come in and they're wearing something short,
We're in church.
and then everyone's just like, "Boy, I can't wait to put my hands on her and pray." Like, you know what I mean?
What kind of church you guys?
I've never seen it, but no, yeah. Anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna cut that topic here. I think we can probably discuss that in a different episode. So next current affairs we'll go to Forbes.
All right. So I haven't written one down. You know why I haven't written one down? Because I don't like writing questions down because I end up reading it like it's formal. So it's more just a thought, right? So I have been kind of thinking, obviously as everybody's pushing, as the government's pushing, and also obviously all of us are pushing for the lift of the ban for us to go back ultimately to some form of normality. And I'm also looking at it and thinking, are people ready to kind of go back to normal mentally?
Yes.
I think some people say.
No.
Some people say.
One second. So why I asked that question, right? Because I guess I don't think we've realized we've kind of, obviously a lot of us, some of us has, but I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think over the last 14, 15, maybe 18 months for some people, you've had to completely revamp your mindset, especially around kind of how you work, how you look after your kids. A lot of that mentally you've changed. And in order to take kind of a full 360 and reverse engineer that in a short period of time, I'm not sure if people are kind of ready for the level of change, because I've been on a lot of team meetings and managers and directors ask about, do people want to go back to work? Do people want to continue working from home? And majority of people want to continue to work from home. A lot of people want to continue in the exact same position that they've been fighting to go into for years. Remember how many years they've been trying to get people to work from home and nobody want to work from home. Suddenly now, because psychologically you've been forced to do it, I think it's now we're creature habits, right? And I feel that I don't think we've considered it enough.
I think that I'm personally ready, but I think some things should have been there. I think this whole process has highlighted certain things should have been in place in the first place. Certain things should a norm, like the fact of like bodily space, being out in public. I don't want to. Nobody should be in my personal space. Now there's like a distance that people keep from each other, and like even in restaurants, people carrying your food to you, they're wearing a mask. That should have been in place in the first place. At workplace, even the space that they keep between people, I love it. Do not chat to me. Don't come close to me. Don't come look at my computer screen. Stay at your desk and
you're wrong.
Or just leave me. And also, I feel like as well that the new way of things are going on. They should understand that people are much more. Some people are happier to work from home, and if so, make it an alternative thing where some days you can work from home, some days you can work. I think it makes a happier environment because being in the office all the time is not always. It doesn't make you feel good, especially in the summer. Like it's a thing in the summer.
You're going to be working. If you got 9 to 5 and it's summertime, it's still a 9 to 5.
Yeah, but when you're at home, it's more of a relax. They even tell you that you should take breaks. You should take frequent breaks. You should walk around. You should come back. It's not so much pressure at work. You try and people are not going to get up from their desk and start walking around start doing whatever they feel like. They're not going to do that. But at home,
I do it all the time. Because
I
am fully active at work.
Well, you know what? At work, when you're at work, and because I'm a talker, right? So I talk and stuff like that. I could never like do that at I could never be talking like the way I do the way I did at work on Teams. Like I can't just call someone up for a chat and start having long conversations with them. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I get my work done more when I'm at home because I can't wait to finish. And at 5 o'clock, I finish. I will not be showing you that I go the extra mile because I'm not at the office where I'm spending an extra hour just to prove to you that I need a promotion.
I did none of that. Girl. You email me after 4, it's not getting answered.
Yeah, at home especially, I'm not doing that. I'm shut, but that done.
Okay, so last point by Links.
I think Shayla, you made a good point because I know some people who like working from home, but I think it's affected the older people a lot more because going into an office was the only time they got to socialize with people. And they're very good at leaving their work issues at work. But now it's made them feel like they can't be at home anymore. It feels like their issues they're now reminded of work at home. There's one guy I know, I won't mention him, and one lady I know who are like fairly old and they're broken down. I've also noticed that because the job I do, there's been a spate of suicides. And I'm thinking that's to do with the pandemic. Like people have been locked in, can't speak to anyone, so they already were on the brink or needed help. They've been locked away for a year, and now it's been semi-released, and it's too late now. So I agree with you. If you like working from home, you should be allowed to work from home. If you want to go into the office, go into the office. Employers are sneaky though, with what you said, Lee, because they know now they don't have to pay rent on a building. They don't have to pay your internet. Like that's all coming out of your pocket. Like, they don't have to pay for your lunchtime because you're probably going to work through it. Like, you're contracted to work from 9 to 5. So even if you finish by midday, they can still call you and be like, we ain't seen you do type no letters in the last 4 hours. Even you could be like, I've done my work for the day. They're like, we don't care. We own you from 9 to 5. Employers are crafty. I think some of them have been waiting for a situation like this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I wish I would like that.
From home
I agree.
Like,
so
more concentration.
Yeah, I know I couldn't work from home. Like, I got my TV, PlayStation. Do you know what's weird is, I'm a hypocrite because I'm like, man, I want to work from home. I want to work from home. Got the chance to work from home and I'm looking at my PlayStation like...
You can do it all.
Yeah, I realised I realize I'm a hypocrite. I can't do it. Like,
Okay.
I just can't do it. So
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just like
one,
more
one small
competition, more
point.
discipline,
yeah,
and you know, you have to find ways to be productive in order to do your work more
I
at
agree.
home than you do
I
at
agree.
work.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
got too many distractions,
Yeah.
but I agree
So,
with you.
last point then, Forbes. Go.
Yeah, just a quick. I just kind of jumping on the back of Lindsay's point regarding the kind of social anxiety aspect that's coming from it. So I saw a documentary. I can't remember what the name of it is, when they talked about the increase in sort of the mental aspect and the social anxiety, the increase of people that are saying they have symptoms of social anxiety. And I think you're going to find out, maybe not now, but possibly in the next couple of years, once people are slowly back to normal, how many people are going to sort of have adverse mental issues. I'm not talking about anything physical, purely on the mental aspect. We already know there's a massive increase in mental awareness and mental health. That's a massive thing nowadays. And I think it is going to, you're going to see an escalation of it. There's going to be something else that's going to be called.
I just say they're making a new law that we can choose to work from home now. That's what they're trying to do.
Okay. So I'm going to have to, unfortunately, cut this short. But what I will leave with you is this. How many of you know about the City of London Corporation?
No.
Okay.
This disclaimer: I'm employed by the City of London.
Okay. So if you're employed by that, so you know that the City of London Corporation has got its own mayor, correct? Okay. And you are aware that mayor
And I
is
work
different.
in the City of London Corporation, so that's it's got its own laws as well.
Exactly.
It's its
Yeah.
actually own entity. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So you know, yeah. So, and you, for those who are not aware, so the mayor of the City of London Corporation is not the mayor of London. Yeah.
Correct.
So I will leave it there, but there's a lot more about that subject that I think we should discuss, because I think many people aren't aware of what's going on, and many people are not aware about the seats that the member holds within the Commons. Yeah. So I won't go into much details, but I think it's something you should read about. And
Sorry, no. So when you say many people aren't aware of what's going on, when many people aren't aware of what's going on insofar as what, or in terms of what?
In regards to how they're elected, yeah, and in regards to how they're funded, how they lobby the government, so it helps support their financial segment, yeah. So that's more what I'm referring to. When you read about how they're elected, this is definitely medieval.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
We should definitely discuss it on a different episode. So at this point, I'm going to thank you for taking part in current affairs. We're going to do something slightly different this week. As you all know, we have got a
Oh
chef
man, I
segment.
wanted to raise my current affairs. I wanted to talk about my current affairs.
I tell you what, you know what, yeah?
Matt Hancock.
Please,
No,
go ahead.
it was Wheatos or Cocoa Pop. Oh, we're doing it. Okay then.
1 minute, go ahead.
So
Cocoa Pops all
no,
day, bro.
it's not my home cap. So as we know, or you may not have known, yeah, New Zealand has elected to let a transgender individual represent them in the weightlifting competition, a Laurel Hubbard, who transitioned from a man into being a woman. And I wanted to ask you, lot, do you think this is fair to the other women in the weightlifting competition? So
it's not fair.
Yeah, that's the jumping off point.
That's why.
I don't know if you guys know who Caitlyn Jenner is.
Yeah.
Even Caitlyn Jenner being a man, turning into a woman, right, has said it's not fair for men to compete in women's part of the sports, because they're not born as a man, as a woman, and their strength levels are going to be different. It's not fair. You're gonna annihilate everybody. Why are you coming there trying to show that I'm a strong woman? You're not.
What it is it's because man and woman are not equal.
Yeah, but listen, he was born with. Anyways, let me not even go there. Don't offend nobody.
No, but that's why it's unfair but you want to. Everyone wants to skate around it. Man and woman
True.
are not equal. Don't skate around
That's
it.
not it, because he wasn't
In a
born.
strength competition. No. One second. In a strength competition.
Let also Liz.
One second. In a strength competition, an average man is stronger than an average woman. Point blank. Period. We are not equal. We are not
Yeah,
equal.
it's true. And he wasn't born a woman, so therefore,
Yeah.
it really humbles that person, right, to realize that that's not you, boo. That's not you. That's it.
I'll give you some stats. Yeah. So Laurel Hubbard, right? Between 1998 and 2012, failed to qualify for any international men's weightlifting competition. Yeah. Transitions in 2013 and then qualifies for the female Olympic team. Right. Then we have CC Telfer, ranked 390th in the males NCC division of 400 meter athletes. Right. 390th. Transitions in 2018, and in 2019 is the 400 meter female NCAC hurdle champion.
Last question.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So basically, he couldn't even win being a man.
He couldn't qualify.
He couldn't qualify being a man.
Yeah.
Now he wants to go being a woman.
She couldn't qualify. Let's put it. So I've got loads of stats here of men who transitioned into women. The main one, this one you probably heard of, was Mary Gregory, transitioned in 2019. Decided to take up women's weightlifting professionally. Never done it before. Just decided that's something I want to do, and in doing so, came first in all 9 events and broke 4 world women's records championships in the 100 weightlifting division. Never done it before. Just said, I'm a woman now. I'm going to try weightlifting, and smashed all your records. The last one from MMA is Fallon Fox, who's now retired, was a Navy SEAL. Wasn't allowed to fight in women's MMA because they still saw her as a man. She fought it, was allowed to enter, won, and shattered a woman's skull, pushing her orbital bone into her fracture. I will have to say, that's been contested as to whether that happened, so I've got to say that. But I've seen that it's that Tamika Brent suffered a concussion of the orbital bone inside her skull.
So, I'm not laughing at her.
Yeah, I know, but I've got loads of... It doesn't, may I also add, it doesn't work if a woman transitions into a man. So you don't see a woman going into a man, racing Usain Bolt and beating him. So I think, what's the way around this, I guess is what I'm saying. How do we get around this?
Jams?
Who's in charge? That's ridiculous.
So I'm just unmuting myself there. It's a very, very intriguing debate, isn't it? You know, and you know, lots of the kind of lots of the anecdotes that Lynx was telling there, you know, again, are very telling in that respect too. So I don't know enough about it, you know, but from what I do know, you know, from my biology lessons back at GCSE and whatnot, you know, again, lots of the themes that people were saying there, you know, reign true. So in the interest of kind of, you know, various sports and competitiveness, yeah, you know, is it feasible in that respect? I don't know enough on it to really have a strong opinion, and I wouldn't like to offend, you know, anyone in that regard.
Well, I wouldn't say it's offending, because the facts are the facts, isn't it? So the fact that when you were seen as a male, you couldn't compete then, and you couldn't even qualify, and then as soon as you changed gender, you started to dominate. It's not offending anybody. It's just, you know, trying to get to a point where we say that, you know, what makes sense, and is it fair for the other females in the competition?
Yeah, I mean, a line has to be drawn somewhere, isn't it? Like even in male sports, male competitions, you know, you obviously, in order for, you know, you have to be certain within a certain weight division in order to, you know, to fight another opponent, you know. And again, you know, a slight difference in weight, you know, a middleweight versus a heavyweight, you know, even one of the, you know, least successful heavyweights, you know, could very well dominate, you know, that middleweight. So yeah, I guess any decision making around it kind of, yeah, it has to be in the interest of fairness, as you say, really.
Sorry, Lid, yeah.
I think the way around it is, go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say as well, like, what Jam was saying is that when it comes to, like, you know, those women who are like, oh yeah, women's rights, pro, you know, women Independence Day, etc. When it comes to that community itself, I just wonder like what they would think about that, because I know like a lot of them, they take that very seriously. They pride in like women's rights and everything. So like all what you're saying to me about this, you know, the transgender, I think for their community, I think they would say that is not fair, because, you know, going back, they're talking about history and stuff and what women had to like, you know, sort of prove themselves. I think they wouldn't say that that's fair, like for a transgender man, but I'm even again. But you know, I'm kind of.
I think the only way around it is to do one of two things: is to either create a trans division, which just seems like you're secluding and isolating them, or we just get rid of all female and male divisions and everyone just competes against each other. I remember the first time I was like taken back. I'm not even a woman, but it was with Kathleen Jenner, transitioned into being a woman, and in that same year got International Woman of the Year award. And I was like, I'm not a woman, but if I was born a woman, that would sting. Like, I've done all these things as a woman, and this person transitions into being a woman and gets International Woman of the Year award. I was like, ooh. And I'm not a woman, and then I felt it.
It doesn't even make sense though, because Caitlyn Jenner's kids don't even call him a woman; they call him dad. On Father's Day, they say Happy Father's Day. So what is that award give? I really don't understand.
So okay, so Liz, you've got a point.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there has to be parity on some level. There has to be parity. Like you can't be a buff male one day that can bench like whatever, I don't know, heavy you know, the heavy weights, and then tomorrow you transition and then you're against like Linda down the road. It's just not right.
Aaron.
What I would say is what you were saying about either creating a different division, like all the gender spectrum is free to enter, but let's test the testosterone levels and put weights against weight. There has to be parity somewhere. It's not fair. I mean, we're not asking the men to go and birth babies because you can't.
Sorry,
I cannot.
That's completely.
Yeah,
no,
they do
we
testosterone levels,
can.
so you can't enter.
Okay, Forbes.
We can. In there, we got labs.
Go have some.
Okay, so last point by Links.
Yeah, just to say, to confirm that, yeah, they do actually test testosterone levels. So Laura Hubbard, who's now representing New Zealand on the females weightlifting team, did have to get her testosterone levels down to an acceptable level before she could enter. But if you don't know what she looks like, I would suggest look her up. And if I didn't tell you, you would think that's a very masculine-looking female. But yeah, you do have to get currently your testosterone levels down. I don't know how testosterone level equals strength. I mean, being entirely honest with you, I don't know how them two go hand in hand. So,
I don't think they know either.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm totally wrong on that. And muscle memory, like you've had all these years of the additional muscles and everything, and then I think
they should be. I think that they need to, like, even the transgenders themselves need to be realistic, like on the fact that it doesn't make sense. Even though they're in charge, does it actually make sense to allow that person to do that? Whether you test in testosterone, our bodies are built differently. Unless they're gonna go back and change their whole entire, you know, through birth and have a whole complete different body, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna work, because our bodies, males' bodies and women's bodies are built differently. So I can't even talk on this topic. It's just too much for me.
So I'm now.
I was just going to add to that, Nelson, as well.
Pardon?
I was going to touch on that briefly too, because you know, Links alluded to an interesting point as well. You know, it'd be interesting to kind of to find out, you know, if it is just men or kind of, you know, I guess naturally born men who have transitioned into being women that then enter, you know, women's competitions in that respect, or how many, you know, naturally born women are transitioning into being men and then participating in men's sports. It'd be interesting to see the numbers. Oh, right, okay.
Women are not allowed. If they transition into a man, they're not allowed to enter into them. Is it the men's one you said, right?
No, they can enter, but they just don't dominate.
Don't
They
do well.
get
Oh, they don't.
yeah,
do
they
well.
don't do well. Yeah.
Okay, so in the next episode or one of the future episodes, I will give you some stats and also some correlations between testosterone and strength, and so that will help to clear those points up. We're going to move on swiftly.
Yeah, that's quite broad. Does everyone deserve a second chance in life? I don't know. There are some instances where, yeah, of course, you do deserve another chance, because by virtue of us being human beings, we learn through making mistakes. And sometimes some of life's most powerful lessons are from where we've made a mistake or where something's gone wrong. Obviously, if you've got an open mind. But in other instances, it's like a one-strike rule, man. As soon as you've done the wrong thing, then that's it. So like context, is key. In determining that.
So based on context, give me Wario or example where you feel that you shouldn't get a second chance.
It stems back to one of our earlier episodes, isn't it? Like, cheating. Yeah.
Okay, Link, same question to you. Do you think everyone in life deserves a second chance?
Oh, it depends what it is. Like, in all honesty, and also it depends in the lead up to them making that mistake, if anyone tried to help them avoid making that mistake, and whether they chose to ignore that advice or take it. So I will say, I don't think you should do that because of X, Y, Z. And if you still go ahead and do it, I'm an "I told you so" person, and I'm not forgiving you. Like, I may forgive you if I'll still, depends what you've done. I won't ever forget you did it. Put it like that. Like, so it depends what it is.
Links, could you give me one example of where you think that a person shouldn't get a second chance?
Whoa. I tend to think people in positions of power, when they mess up, shouldn't get second chances. I'm talking like our MPs.
Matt Hancock.
Yeah,
boy Matty.
Yeah, because like when it's us, George Osborne, during the expenses scandal, for example, where the MPs were taking our money and buying all these things, right? A lot of them were saying, "Oh, we didn't know we couldn't do that," and I'm thinking, wait, if I decide to pay the taxman late, or decide to turn around and tell a police officer I didn't know I couldn't do that, you don't want to hear that. Even if I'm being 100% genuine, like, you just don't care. And now you're sitting here telling me, as an MP who signs off laws, you didn't know you couldn't buy a duck house with my money and employ your brother and buy 2 houses. Like, nah, bro. Like, but none of them went to court, did they? So, yeah.
Okay, so same question goes to Shayla. Do you think everyone deserves a second chance in life?
Yeah, I do. Because I feel like everyone deserves a second chance, because your life can't just be stopped at that one point and that one mistake that you've made. For instance, there's Kim Kardashian, sex tape. She needed a second chance. There is, what else? There's
James, like, what?
No, it's true. She needed a second chance. Look where she is now. She's a billionaire. There's who else is there? There's so many people in life that need a second chance. I'm sure that most of us.
The sex tape made her a billionaire.
No, but she needed a second chance to be taken seriously. So for her to be able to turn that over, she had to become.
She'll never be taken seriously. She got a sex tape.
No, see that's for people with your mind frame, because that people need to be able to outlive their wrongs. Okay, so I feel like everyone deserves a second chance. God gives us a second chance for those that believe in God. So therefore, I feel like we should have a second chance in life. Obviously, in terms of relationships, cheating, there's no second chances, but that's a totally different story.
What about George Floyd's murderer? I won't even say the man's name.
See, it's not up to us to judge. I don't agree that guy. He has a second chance after he's done his time. That's his second chance. Once he's finished his time in prison and when he if it does come out, I'm guessing that would be his second chance. You
Okay,
never
so-
know. His calling in prison
No,
might be
but he
something. He
looks
might
so
have a calling in
evil.
prison.
His
One
eyes.
second, Lily.
But the thing is,
One
the
second.
most evilest person, like in the Bible, well, who was it that didn't believe in God? He got a second chance. You have to, even no matter how evil or horrible someone is, I feel like everyone deserves a second chance, because just because their mind frame is this today, it doesn't mean like it's going to be the same way after. Remember, the experience that they went through is should change them as a person and their mentality and their mind state. So therefore, that what happened to you should be able to make you grow and excel to be a better person, if that's how you interpret what happened.
Okay, Liz, same question to you.
Okay, so when you were saying who doesn't deserve second chances, this thing was burning my skin. So let me ask everybody.
No, sorry. So if we ask the question first.
Deserve second chance? No, not everyone. No, and I can qualify it.
Lily, same question to you.
Yeah, I do think that people should, get a second chance, because even thinking about like people that have they've even done a murder, and I've seen shows online where the family forgave that person for what they did because they knew what they were, how they were at that time. They've changed, and so because that person was remorseful, and because of the situation and the nature of their undercover kind of road life job that they didn't want to do anymore, it just happened that they killed that person just because of their lifestyle at the time. And so they've asked for forgiveness from that family, and the family over the years have now forgiven them. And so yeah, I do feel like people deserve a second chance, because put yourself in that situation as well. Imagine you did something by accident, or doesn't even have to be that, but just something simple, but to someone else it's a massive thing. And so it takes forgiveness in order for everybody to move forward.
Okay, so same question to Forbes.
I would say no. Not everybody deserves a second chance.
Okay, so back to Links. You had a point you wanted to make?
Do you know what? Go to Liz first, and then I will ask the question. So let Liz, because I can see Liz is burning. So let Liz do her thing, and then
Liz?
Thank you so much, my friend. Listen, all you lovely people that are talking about kumbaya and give them more the forgiveness and the love and less, I believe that, but not everybody deserves my kumbaya. I'm so sorry. It depends on your motivations for why you done whatever wickedness it was, because guess what? R. Kelly can't come to my house and say, give me a chance to sit beside your daughter. I promise I'm a changed man.
When I say second chance, can I just say I'm not saying that I'm going to be the one giving you the second chance.
Wait. Hold on. You've now done a 360.
No, because I don't mean that. I mean, I'm talking. You said in general, everyone deserves a second chance, but it doesn't mean I'm going to give you that second chance. And I mean, in not me. I'm just saying you deserve the second chance by whoever gives it to you.
Over there.
Okay, but one second, ladies. Sorry, but Shayna. So
you talking about me? Am I going to give?
I'm talking about you personally. Yes, I'm asking direct to you. Do you think everybody in life deserves a second chance?
You said everybody in life, yes, but I'm not going to be the one giving them that second chance.
No,
everyone in life deserves a second chance, but I'm not giving you that second chance. It depends on what you've done and what it is. Like you said, R. Kelly is not going to come in my yard and sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry." Well, you just got to tell that to whoever you did it to, because you're not coming in my yard and doing that and think I'm going to give you a second chance.
Yeah, but that's about you.
Make your mind up. Make your mind up, It's one or the other.
Yeah.
But do you get what I'm saying? The second chance can come from whoever you did it to, or whoever you were, the person in the situation. Do you get what I'm saying? So especially who are affected.
Sorry.
Forbes, yeah, please.
You're confusing me. I'm confused.
Whoever got the damage done to them, or the problem, can issue out whether they want to give a second chance.
Yeah, it was a straightforward question.
That's my answer.
There was a different answer first time round, though.
It's like if your wife cheated on you, would you give her a second chance? Her friends and family around her who have been affected.
Some man will, but I won't.
Yeah, but all her friends and family around might be who are affected might have they have the opportunity to say, well, you know, I'm not giving my friend a second chance because she hurt him. That those that were in it can do still to think about.
Or they can go marry her then if they're not concerned.
Exactly, but I'm saying me as an onlooker, that has nothing to do with me. Mind the business that pays you. That has nothing to do with me.
Sorry, so Links, you're gonna interject with your point?
No, because Liz took it exactly where I was gonna go, because I'm like, if a grown man rolls over on your child, comes back and says, I want forgiveness, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, okay, like, no matter how many years have passed. So it all depends on what it is, doesn't it? Whether it was an accident, whether you meant to do it. So yeah, you have to take each situation and judge it on its own merit.
But what about, because I agree with what you're saying, but what about like for those people who have been, you know, sexually abused? Because you're talking about like, oh, R. Kelly can't come sit next to your daughter again. But what about the actual person? You know, you may not forgiven them for touching your child, but they've forgiven them for touching them. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, and plus, I was speaking to someone about this the other day. Like, you know, you don't know the reasons why some people do the things that they've done, and some people choose to learn from their mistakes, at a young age, and not discontinue doing what they did to other people at a certain age. But when you're like, you're 18 and you're classed as an adult, or 16 or classed as an adult or whatever, and you're still continuing to do these things at your grown age, there's something wrong with you. I'm not saying there's something wrong with you, but you've made that to be a choice. That's a choice.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to remember is our choices of yesterday affects what happens tomorrow. It doesn't matter whether what your intentions were, like, you did it. So you may want forgiveness, and some people may give it to you, but I don't have to. I'm not obliged to. I can understand why you did it, and I can disagree why you did it using compartmentalization. Doesn't mean I am duty bound to forgive anything you do just because now you've grown as a person. Good for you. Well done. I'm glad you're a better person because of it. However,
people are going to go for their gun, blah, blah, and then there's forgiveness for them.
My path doesn't change. I don't disagree with you, Dolly. I 100% agree with you. I just don't want to say I would forgive everyone, and then later on in life, you're like, you see me not forgiving someone, you're like, Lynch, you hypocrite. So I totally get where you're coming from. But when I see people not forgive people, I'm like, I can see that. Sometimes I see people choose not to forgive people. I'm like, I would have forgave them, but we're all different, innit? Like, so don't get me wrong. I agree and see 100% where you're coming from. But I can also see why some people are just like, nah, I'm not forgiving that.
Okay, so sorry to cut you, Link. This is the last point to Jams.
Thanks, man. My hand was getting tired there, you know. There's a lot of sauce. But yeah, I'm just kind of going back to the top. Like there's a clear distinction between forgiveness and giving a second chance. And I think that's something that's important to understand, really. You know, because forgiveness kind of comes from within. I can decide to forgive someone, which means that I'm letting go of my resentment or my distaste or my anger towards that particular person for my own, you know, moral, mental sake, I guess, you know. And whether I choose to forgive is obviously my personal choice. That comes from my own personal belief system, be that societal, be that cultural, be that religious or whatever. But giving someone a second chance is entirely different. And Link's kind of alluded to it earlier, you know, that we can forgive, but not necessarily forget. You know, so even if that individual who forgives you for some wrongdoing that you've done does forgive, I think, as Lee mentioned earlier, you know, others that have been privy to it, society, as it were, certainly, you know, is not going to forgive. And again, you know, an example I gave earlier about cheating, you know, it's like, you know, if my partner cheats on me, you know, I can forgive that. Am I willing to give you a second chance? No. You know, so, you know, there's a distinction there. And I think that's important to kind of to be understood.
Okay,
add to that. You know, with the cheating, some people give second chances. Maybe if they have no kids, they won't give a second chance. But they got kids, they'll give a second chance.
So, fair enough. On that point, I'm going to have to, as they say, pause. But where I'm going to have a part 2 to episode 3. So due to time, but for the part 2, the next question is going to be, so this is to Lily and to Shayla. So considering you said everyone deserves a second chance, would you be happy if a murderer lived next door to you? You can think about it, and then you can answer that on part 2.
I'm giving back the
I'd like to thank you all for attending, and we will reconvene on part 2.
Boom! I'm looking forward to judging these wings next week, boy.
I'm gonna send hate mail.
Hey, Forbes.
I'm a win.
No,
Yeah.
no Google imaging your food, you know, Forbes. I know what you did. No Google imaging your food.
Hey, yeah, Martin was.
Thanks, everyone.
No, he
bless
made
our
that
Alright,
food
see you
again.
later.
That's what he did. He
Yeah.
made that food again.
Yeah.
Right.